welcome to Cosmos and Commerce, the podcast where stellar business insights meet cosmic cocktails. I'm Janis Francis from Remax Connection, as well as the Humble Crate Artisan Marketplace. And joining me, as always, is the ever-energetic Michele Cook from Body Ache Escape Wellness Center. Together, we're here to fuel your mind and ignite your entrepreneurial passion with a dash of pizzazz.
That's right, Janis. Today, we are shifting gears to explore the heartwarming world of childcare. We're chatting with none other than the inspiring Carol Haynes, founder of Kiddie Academy. We'll dive into how they're nurturing the next generation while running a successful and impactful business.
So it's going to be an enlightening conversation, from creating a safe and engaging environment for children to balancing the demands of entrepreneurship. There's so much to discuss. Whether you're a seasoned childcare provider or dreaming of starting your own center, we're here to share insights, tips, and a little sparkle to help you thrive in this rewarding field. So grab a cup of coffee and get ready to soak up some top-notch business insights.
Absolutely. Let's find out what makes Carol Haynes a shining example in the childcare industry. Welcome, Carol. We're excited to talk to you today.
Hey,
Yes,
ladies.
ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome.
Can you share the story behind the beginning of Kiddie Academy? What inspired you to start your childcare business?
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have?
All the time you need.
I think what some people don't know about me is I'm a nurse. And so then people always say, oh my gosh, how'd you get to childcare? And so the long and short of it is just my passion for kids. I've always had children, my child, someone's child around me. And then the real, probably intricate part of how it happened was I was approached 5 years prior to opening and nothing was right. So we didn't have enough money. We didn't have the right location. None of the stars had aligned at that particular point. Fast forward 5 years later, my daughter was a Division I track athlete here at a school in Ohio and had called and said, Mom, I'm pregnant. And so as we began to revisit childcare spaces, just saw a lot of things that we thought we could improve upon and became a part of the solution and started connecting with other childcare owners when we came across Kiddie Academy. And so everything at that particular point was really just perfect. And so it really allowed me to fulfill my passion with children while also supporting my daughter, and then really utilizing my nursing background, but just more in regards to like community health. And so this has really allowed me, I think, to serve my life's passion. I've been able to do everything from work with infant mortality, to going over to DC, to advocating for children with full bellies and the Child Food and Nutrition Act. So it's really a heart passion of mine. So that's how I got there.
Awesome. So what year did you open the first Kiddie Academy?
So we opened December 6, 2011 in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. That was our first location. So 13 years ago.
Wow.
All right. I know right where that is.
Yay.
So how many do you have now?
It's a loaded question. So right now we have 6 licensed locations. There was one particular time that we had 10 licensed sites, which had included pre-COVID. So there's the childcare world pre-COVID and then childcare currently. We currently have 6 licensed sites here in Central Ohio. So we're in Hilliard, downtown Columbus. We have a partnership with Columbus Charter School. We have our initial location on Main Street in Reynoldsburg. We have another location, it's our Tusing location. And then our most recent location located at 611 Diley.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh,
It is.
you.
Pass it all the time.
I do too. It's really nice.
Thank you.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when you started your first Kiddie Academy, and how did you overcome them?
Access to capital. It's widely known. There's some disparities, I think, in terms of access to capital for women, access to capital for minorities. And so I tell people, and they're like, you're exaggerating. And I tell them I am not exaggerating. I put together 30 business plan packets that were an inch and 1.5 inch binders for every lender that we had approached for funding. And I've said this publicly, and actually at the Athena, is we were only funded by one lender. And we rocked with that lender all the way through. They had significant changes, but definitely the disparity in access to capital, making sure that we were going to be well funded when we open. And that's probably something else that we'll probably talk about down the road. But I think that was the greatest challenge, was just being able to access the capital that we needed to bring the plan to life.
Yeah. Have you seen any improvements in that through the years? Is it still just as hard for women and minority, or has there been like significant changes in being able to access capital?
I think that, so my experience was we built this really great relationship with our lender, and we walked every opening with him, regardless of what bank he was at. He switched lenders and went to Standing Stone. We went with him. But I think that there's been improvements, and the SBA has made it a focus. So I believe it's getting better for most people.
Okay, that's great.
It's nice when you find a good lender too, to stick with them. That loyalty was there, and he'll do a good job for you each time.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. He was candid, he was honest, and
I
he
think I met him.
you
Didn't he come to
him.
the Athena?
Yes, and actually he was
Yeah.
coming to chamber meetings and everything. Great guy.
Yeah.
What are some of your current job?
Let me go back to that.
Okay,
I do want to say this. I do
okay.
believe that the business community has made significant efforts to see and hear women and minority businesses, and to listen and identify what the needs are. And it is, and I'm going to say post COVID. So since COVID, I feel that the effort has changed in terms of trying to ensure that there's programs that will meet the needs for women and minority owned businesses. And
There were so many that started. Yeah.
I have seen those differences. And what I like about the focus is they are educating women and minority businesses in terms of how to best position yourself to be, and I hate to use the term because it may not even be one, but to be what I call bankable. So to be able, for that lender to be able to present your project to their board and things like that, what's necessary in that application. I believe that the bank community has at least began to align with what the needs of business owners are in that space.
Yeah. I've been trying to get the big state loan that's only 1.5% interest. I've applied for it 2 times and been denied each time. And the second time they were like, you need to talk to Heather at Columbus Urban League. She'll help you. And she sat with me for, I don't know, she's one of my friends too, so thank goodness. But
Yeah.
she sat with me for a couple of hours and walked me through what my profit and loss statement has to look like. She's, before you file your taxes next year, talk to me so that I make sure that everything is lined up so you can reapply. Because it's refinancing our loan from 10% to 1.5%.
Oh, wow.
That's
That'd be a significant
significant.
change.
It'd be like $4,000 a month. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I agree with you in that they're getting better at resources.
Yeah.
Okay. Since starting, what have some of your other challenges been as you've gone along the way, and how have you addressed them?
I always tell people that right now, COVID was probably the most difficult thing that we had to address as a business. I know many folks had to, but in our space in childcare, a lot of people did not make it through COVID. And so we had to really learn how to serve our children and our families differently. But then our caregivers, our teachers, our educators, their needs began to change. And so we had to pivot a bit in terms of how we lead, and really making sure that we led from an educator first standpoint, and also helping our staff identify when they had mental health needs, when they needed more time or they needed more space, and just how to articulate that, and how to set different plans and different goals. And really just making sure that I was available to give just more feedback and more support to our teams, regardless of whether they were in Hilliard downtown or where we were now here ramping in Pickerington. I think that's been a challenge for me, just always making sure that, especially being a multi-unit owner, making sure that I used to struggle when people would say, "Oh, I know you're so busy." So I don't know why it's just a pet peeve of mine. I never want to give the perception that I'm too busy or I'm so busy. So I always wanted to make sure that I was and I am available. So even the other day, someone's, "Hey, can you be here at KIP at 1:30?" And I don't even ask them why anymore. It may not be 1:30, but I get there and I get there within 24 hours or that day as much as possible. So I think that's been the greatest challenge, is just making sure that we're meeting the needs of our educators and leaders and allowing folks to have that space to grow as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you share one of your proudest achievements at Kiddie Academy, or what's your biggest success?
It's difficult to say for me, but because it's hard for me to pat myself on the back, so to speak. But I guess it's hard too because it was highly unlikely that I should be the one that is in this position. Like I don't let people know I'm a teen mom, but one of the things that has always resonated with me is that if ever given the opportunity, that I would always give back, no questions asked. And so I graduated from Ohio State in the College of Nursing. My mom is a graduate of Ohio State and worked 30 years at Ohio State. So I guess that's the background information. But my greatest success and achievement has come by way of being able to do the work that I do and to have the success. And we established a community nursing scholarship in my mom's name. So it's the Shirley R. Phillips Community Nursing Scholarship at the Ohio State University. And so that is probably my proudest accomplishment, that my daily work has allowed me a platform and opportunity to establish an endowment that will be in place in perpetuity in my mom's name. And the greatest piece of that is it's not a memorial scholarship that my mom is here to witness. And then here on October 24th, we're going to meet one of the scholarship recipients. And so I just think it's nice that my mom will be able to accompany me at that event on the university. And so I'm excited.
Awesome.
And
That is very awesome. Yeah.
it just brings tears to my eyes because I just feel like if this would have been 1991, no one would have chose me to be sitting here as a teen mom trying to figure out life and to look 25, 30 years down the road and have the ability to be able to set up an endowment so that nursing students, for as long as the university is in place, will be able to have an opportunity to just close the gap on their financial situation to ensure that they can accomplish their goals.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I'm sure they need it more now than ever with people leaving the medical industry in
Yeah, I think
droves.
everyone is just trying to figure out what's next for them or personally, or where do you go from here? And when finances get in the way, the easiest thing to do is just quit or stop, or I'm going to take a pause. But I always tell people that sometimes is the worst thing you can do because it's pretty difficult to gas the engine back up to get going. I tell people, even if it's just dropping down to one class, don't stop, stay engaged with whatever university you're in.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great advice. My dad gave me that advice too. I was going to take a gap year and he's no, keep going. I don't care what you
You gotta
take,
go.
just keep
Uh,
going.
You gotta go.
my granddaughter's on a gap year right now, and I'm wondering, I hope she goes back.
It's hard. I just remember telling one of my daughter's friends, and she says to this day, and she's well into her 30s now, and she says, "You gave me the best advice and I didn't take it, and you told me to stay in school." And she said, "I've just had the hardest time getting back in school." Keep going. She might be 40 and go back.
Yeah.
There's always that opportunity.
Maybe. So, Kiddie Academy is known for its exceptional care and innovative programs. Do you have a special philosophy or approach that sets you apart?
I do. It's love. I tell people all the time, like you can look at children and see when they're loved very well, right? And that doesn't always have to happen at home, and it should always happen in every care environment that they're in. And we really push and seek and look for educators that, regardless of a child's background, their abilities, we provide that inclusive environment that always includes love and provides that love and care. And I really think that makes the difference, because when kids know that they matter, that they're seen, they're heard, and they're cared about, their performance and their outcomes are different.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
same with women and families. I have historically worked with a lot of single moms or families that are going through transition. But the number of people that somewhere along the way come back and say, I had been to a lot of daycares, but when we came to Kiddie Academy, the one thing I knew is that my kids were loved and well cared for, period. And so that means the world to me. And I'm not always, I love on them, but I'm not always the person that's in front of them each and every day. So to
Mm-hmm.
know that my teachers exude a large part of my personal philosophy means the world to me. And so I can see that in the growth and development of children. And you got to think, these, some of the kids that, we've been doing this 13 years, a lot of them are in college. Some have graduated from college, and many of them whom are bringing their babies to us. So it's okay, I had this person as a middle schooler, and now they're married and their kids go here. Like, I didn't even
I
think that far when we started. I didn't get that far down the timeline. So the last
love
year and a half has just been very rewarding for me in terms of just bumping into people in the community to say, hey, do you remember me? And then once I look in people's eyes, automatically I already know. And it may have been 10 years since I've last seen them, but they're now 20, 21, 22, and it's, oh my gosh.
Mm. Do you have a lot of long timers that are there, like from infant clear till 12 years old?
We do. And so, because we have a
Yeah.
large school age program, in particular in Reynoldsburg, we have a very high retention rate. And I haven't checked in the last couple years, but a couple years ago, we were told from our franchise that we had the highest retention rate in the system. And I say that is a large part of the size of our school age program and the number of years that a student could stay with us. So you literally could start with us as a baby in our Reynoldsburg location and stay until you're 13.
So my daughter was at her daycare center from 18 months. Back in those days, they couldn't take infants. This was 1975, but she was there from 18 months till she was 12 years old, till she
Mm.
aged out in the same one. And my friend owned the daycare, and she still is in contact with her. So it's really nice. Like when Gretchen will walk into where my daughter's working and, hey, because she pretty much helped me raise her.
And that is it. We are very much a part of the family.
100%.
And I tell people that comes with its benefits, and then other times comes with its challenges, you know, because I tell people, you have one family, I have 500.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, we're going to talk about business strategies. What marketing strategies have been the most effective for you promoting the Kiddie Academy, and why?
I'm going to tell you that our strategies, I don't want to say they're not groundbreaking, but the moment, so when we first started, we did a lot of paper and these flyers, right? That was just the way we were getting information out to our community. Right now, the transformation that has really happened is that people don't know about it if it's not digital. So
Mhm.
everything we do, 95% of my marketing dollars are tied to digital marketing. And so you look and you say, what's the one thing that everybody pretty much had? And so
Yep, their
so
phone.
we've got to figure out how we continue to get information to devices. And so that's really where we are right now. Our marketing strategy is, if it's not digital, we typically are not participating. Like, we may participate in some print, but in our budget. And I always tell people, no matter what you're doing in this world, whether it's your household or it's your business, your budget aligns with your goals, your focus, and your beliefs. So all of our marketing is digital, because we believe that's how we reach people.
Yeah. So, employee satisfaction is crucial in childcare. What strategies do you use to keep your staff motivated and to reduce your turnover?
Just creating that positive work environment. So It is very important to me. And some of the work that we've done with our teams, just surveying them, and people would probably go, "Oh, you're kidding, you're joking." It's not money that keeps folks at a job. So we have even been able to align that with surveying our team. Yes, do people want to be remunerated for the work that they're doing? Absolutely. But most people want to come into a workplace that is not toxic, that is very positive, where they are rewarded and recognized for the work that they do. And so that's just where we have aligned probably really over the last 24 months, is making sure that our team, our educators are seen, they're heard, they're recognized, they're well compensated, but that we're meeting their needs really as just a whole person, and allowing them that space that if they need to say, hey, I need a moment, or I need a couple days, or hey, this is what I would love to see in my classroom, or here's a couple of the kiddos that are struggling. This is what I believe they're struggling with. We're just really in tune with creating that positive leadership, really, that folks need when they show up at work every day. And that's what we're really leaning on our leaders to do and to work through each and every day.
Do you offer any unique or unusual benefits that you think contribute to employee retention?
Yeah, and so I won't say necessarily that they're unique, but I think they're unique in terms of the volume that we like. Right now, I have 13 of 14 young ladies that have finished their national CDA accreditation. It's very rare to find an employer that will 100% sit down, set those goals, and then follow through with the investment to make sure that you reach the goal. And I've aligned and provided them a mentor internally to ensure that they get to goal. And we've had someone in the program lose housing, so housing insecurity, saying, hey, I can't finish. Yes, you can. How do we do it? We sit down and we work with wherever that person is with that mentor to figure out how we still get to goal. And so I think what's unique is that we're willing to make the investment of not just time, but also say treasure. So we're willing to make the financial investment, but I'm willing to personally invest my time to sit down and figure out what it's going to take to get you to your personal goal. And for some people, they're like, oh my gosh, I've wanted a CDA for 5 years. I could just never figure out how to get there. And the other part of it is in terms of rewards and recognition, I work with a lot of different business owners, franchisees, and I think people always say to me, like, oh my gosh, we have the best rewards and recognition program. Well, how do you feel like it's the best? Because what we do is we go through and we say, what might be important to the employee in the infant room may not be important to the educator in the school age room. And so the rewards and recognitions that folks receive are really built around their interest. And so it's not just a blanket statement of, you're going to get a Charles Pinzone's gift card if you do A, B, C, or D, or if you've been here this long. This person might be a kayaker and may want to go kayaking, but can't typically get out there because of the cost. So their reward may be a trip to go kayaking and 2 days off to do that are paid. So we just try to really structure it so that it's meaningful to each individual. And we really have seen our turnover decrease significantly in the building we started that in, almost by 70%.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, do you have any tips for managing and mentoring your younger staff members?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, I think that people have to know that they're important. So it's carving out time. And I think it's the one thing that everyone always says, oh, you don't get time back. But it's the one thing that, for me, in terms of reflection, people have often said, I just can't believe that you were able to take the time to do X, or it meant a lot to me when you took the time to do. And so it's sitting down with our younger staff and figuring out and truly asking the question. It's a cliche question, but it's like, where do you see yourself 12 months from now? Most people usually go to 5 years, but what does the next year look like for you? And then what's your goal? What is something that you really want to do, but you're not sure either how to get there or you're not sure that it will happen? And then we sit down and we walk out the steps that it's going to take to make that happen. But then I'm the person that's holding you accountable to say, hey, when we met, you remember you told me? How close are you to that right now? And so just circling people back, not a whole nother meeting, but just that kind of impromptu, on the spot, give this some thought, but then still having our scheduled meetings, but making sure, again, that we're truly investing in people. I cannot tell you how many, a lot of it was like you mentioned with your granddaughter, getting back in school, getting this degree, making this pivot, starting my side hustle business. I've always wanted to do this. Now leaving here, I just want to do it on the weekends or in the evenings, that kind of things. I would just say that the true investment of time and the mentorship with folks is where I start with younger people as well.
Yeah, that's good. So reputation, it's key, especially in childcare. How do you ensure Kiddie Academy maintains its impeccable reputation?
Listening and then being responsive and following up. I would love to tell you that everyone that has walked through our door has been just perfectly happy and it's been Disney World every day. And I say Disney World because as I train my team, we always talk about Disney World and the experience that people have going to Disney World, but it starts before they get there, right? You have this anticipation of what you're going to experience when you get to Disney. And I tell them and I say that it is the same way when someone brings their child to an educational childcare school or academy of ours. And so one of the things that we do is if we have made a mistake or can do something better, we take accountability for that and then we write the plan to make things right for our families and for our kids. May not have the answer immediately, but I think the follow up piece is key. So let me get back to you with X. I always let my team know I come from an environment where I was the night shift nursing supervisor in a large healthcare system. And in healthcare, we make mistakes because everyone's human, right? And so the day that you have to walk a family through letting them know that an amputation was made on the wrong leg and we have to go back in, it brings things in our world full circle. But the key piece comes down to letting people, communicating with the family, hearing them out, meeting their needs, but moreover, making sure that you build a process that doesn't happen again. And so if we're in a situation where things don't go well, we build processes to make sure that we're not in that situation again. And so I think by communication and then just showing people really how much we care and the love and passion that we have for their child really solidifies that reputation. But I also think the growth that they see in their children from being in our programs and having access to our curriculum and our educators is key to that reputation as well. And we get cousins and siblings and neighbors. And so that whole word of mouth piece, I think, is key as well in terms of building the reputation, but really making sure that people know that they are a part of a brand that values children and that has the ability to grow kids really across the lifespan and to help them be the best young citizen possible. So,
Speaking of that, so your tagline is preparing your child for life. Yeah. Can you tell us more about that and how it reflects in your center's values and your mission?
oh, yeah. So I think the piece for us is really tied to developmental milestones, right? So the goal is that no matter when someone brings their student to us, we meet kids where they are. And our goal is to help kids move farther, faster along the way. And so one of the things that I love that's really a part of our brand is character and curiosity. So our character essentials curriculum is unmatched, I think, in the industry. But that ability to build curiosity with our curriculum, our lesson plans, our environments, those things have been paramount for us and for our kids and for our families really along the way. And then just helping our educators work with our families to make those school to home connections also help us as well. And our curriculum is really based on the science of reading. And so we know, and we've gotten feedback from districts throughout Central Ohio, that our kindergartners show up to school more prepared and well prepared and really steps above and beyond their peers. And we know that's a result of the training of our educators and a result of our curriculum as well. And so they're allowed to build, truly build as critical thinkers along the way. And that's evident. It's evident in our classrooms, and our families see it. And so the community sees it too.
Is that your Life Essentials curriculum? Tell us about that.
Life Essentials is our proprietary curriculum that is a part of Kiddie Academy that was really formed in 1981. A group of PhD educators put our curriculum together. And so it's updated anywhere from every 3 to 5 years. That curriculum gets updated, but it allows us and our educators the ability to individualize what's being delivered in the classroom, as well as to provide care and education for children across all abilities. So it is very inclusive as well. And the kids remark, and I tell people, you can always tell when you're on target for the day when the kids walk in with that aha kind of moment and they say, "What are we doing today? What is this?" And the questions begin and the inquiry process starts. We know we're right in line with the interest area of our kids, and that we're going to have a day, really, I tell it, a day of growth. And so it's really nice to see in action. It's nice to be a part of as well. So it's fun.
That's awesome. I want to come to your Kiddie Academy.
You should come. I think you can hang out.
So what does your daily routine look like, and how do you think it contributes to your success?
I really start my day with this practice of gratitude. And so I know most people get up at 5 a.m. and they go to the gym. I wish I could tell you that I was that girl. I'm just not that girl yet. But I start with this practice of gratitude that really revolves around reflection for me. And so I go back to the day prior or some days earlier in the week. Now I always ask myself, who or what was the thing or person that I could not have made it through the day without, or what was the difference maker in my day yesterday or last week or last weekend? Now I always try to make sure that I reach back out to that person in some form or fashion just to express my gratitude. So I always try to lead and begin my day with gratitude. And that's been real kind of rewarding for me. But like I said, it starts with this practice of reflection. And I will one day evolve that to include exercise. I'm just not there yet. So, but it's been very helpful for me as well. And so sometimes I start the day, and I guess I could say I start the day with just me. And that kind of gives me the energy that I need to move about, because I have 6 buildings and triple digits in terms of the number of people that I'm responsible for each day. And I always try to make it such that you feel like you're the only person in my world at the moment that you need me. And I can't do that if I don't lead with gratitude and start my day just with that moment of reflection.
That's good.
So do you go visit all of your buildings every day, or how do you divide your time up?
I do not go to each of my buildings every day. I have contact with all of my leaders at each of the buildings. I think that the best way for me to manage sometimes is to stay out of the way. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I walk into a building, and I always make it a practice of mine to wash my hands and go immediately to the classroom. I got that practice from a lady named Marlita Bartlett, who was like the supervisor for ODJFS years ago. She had a 30-year career with them. But I remember asking her, what's the one thing that I can do as a leader that's going to make a world of difference in my program? And she said, when you come in, don't check your phone messages, don't check your emails, don't sit in your chair and start digging in a drawer. She said, wash your hands and get to your classrooms. Hands down, the best advice I've ever received. But what happens when I do that is I become the owners in the building, and the director becomes less important. And I don't like that. So I don't want that to happen. I never want to cut my leaders' legs out. So I don't go to the buildings every day so that those leaders have the opportunity to lead, and that the director is still their first contact. So I too will hear out the staff, but I always try to either assess whether they've made contact with their leader or circle them back to their leader, and then follow up with that individual to say, hey, I want to make sure you got your question answered, as well. But I do visit all of my academies. I check in with my leaders each day. We set the tone. We do an AM huddle. Um, and then if there's something urgent or emergent going on, like maybe in Pickerington, I don't have a clue of what's happening in Hilliard, but they've got an update because there's something going on their particular road that gives them access to our academy. We talk through things like that. There might be a power outage out on one area, just really balancing that, and then making sure again that I've got those routine and daily check-ins with not only my staff but my leaders, just to really help people grow and make sure that they're aligning with their goals, and that again that they're seen, they're heard, and that we're really just meeting their needs as their employer. We want to be the employer of choice when people think of childcare. And I think that starts with me at the head, and making sure that we've got processes in place that allow our team, our educators, to show up and be their best each day.
I love how you said that about why you don't go every day. Because I haven't been able to pinpoint why it works better when I don't go to the office every day, but that's exactly it. It makes my manager feel more in charge, and it gives, I am empowering her to make all those decisions. So
No, and it
she
might
feels like
be
she has to always come and ask me when I'm there.
absolutely not. And so
Mhm.
I hear them out. I listen to them, but I also say, have you talked to such and such? Or I
Mhm.
may pull that person in to the conversation, like the leader into the conversation, and either paraphrase or say, hey, tell her the same story you just told me so we can figure out, how we help and that kind of thing. And so we may not have an answer today, but we will definitely get you an answer kind of thing. And I just think you have to let leaders lead. And I always tell people I don't have all of the solutions. I receive most of the questions, but I do not have to hold the solution. We have identified highly creative individuals, loving, caring, and so we need to allow them to build their programs, run their programs, and then it's almost like having your own child. You don't catch them when they're falling every time, but we work through what may have been a better solution or what we could have done better. Things went well, but what would have made it an even better event, or what would have improved the training for our team or for the families, those kinds of things. We're always, I think, just really reflecting on how to remain in a constant state of improvement. So that's where we are. And some people might say, oh, is that it might make someone feel like nothing's ever good enough, but that's not the case. It's just we always want things to be evolving and better, and to make sure that we continue to meet people's needs. That's my thought.
Nice. Do you have any technology like apps or gadgets or websites that you use regularly to help you with business?
So in my space with childcare, I would not be able to live without this software called ProCare. So it houses all of our family information, child information, allergies, those kinds of things. I can get it on my phone and all my devices, which is why I'm like, I have all these two-step verifications. But the other part of it is our Tadpoles app, which is what we use. And we also call it Academy Link, but we use that for communication to our families, and so they can see throughout the day. And so I wear multiple hats, right? But I also have a granddaughter that's in my Pickerington program. So I love getting the messages from the leader there. And then bottom line, I love getting the pictures. So I get this like parent experience, like, oh, this is what they're doing right now. So I like that there's a send now function, or you can attach it to the daily report. So I always tell people to strike this balance between sin now and attaching it to the daily report at the end of the day, because it's almost like your birthday or Christmas when you get the picture of the little person you love the most engaging in something, and you can look at their face and their eyes and tell that they're having the time of their life. And then when you see them, especially my granddaughter, I'm like, oh my gosh, how were the rockets? And she's like, how did you know? How did you know I was
Mm.
building rockets? So I'm a big kid. You had mentioned about coming into people's space. So sometimes they love it and sometimes they don't, because I like messy activities and art and stuff. So, but yeah, so that's my app. Really, my go to app is Tadpoles. Without it, it's been down once or twice. And I'm like, oh, you guys got to get Tadpoles back up. So,
I love that because you know what, parents worry so much about their kids when they're away and in somebody else's hands. And when you get something like that and you see your joy on your kid's face, it really makes a big difference in your life too, in your day.
yeah, and it helps. I look at the pictures and videos in all the programs because I have access to everyone's dashboard. And I can also see good, bad, or indifferent. I can also see if in a picture, like a student needs some additional support. So if they look sad today, like they usually look all happy in the group pictures and things, I can call and say, hey, go and check in on such and such. I was just looking at the group. And it may just have been a snapshot in a moment and the kiddo is fine. But I will send the director to just take another look and a peek just to make sure they might need a break out of the space. So I tell people it's cool at home because you run the world at home, right? But now you're in childcare and you got to share the space with others. And maybe you wanted that bean bag, but someone else sat on it. And maybe you just need a break to walk and get a drink of water and help stack a few pieces of paper for the director and run back in with friends. But we're able to give those moments to each of our students too. But I'm always just evaluating, just looking.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
So I've got some fun questions for you. In the day with any entrepreneur or business leader, past or present, who would it be and why?
So I think, and I know you said any, so that means one. So I'll try to get there. I think for me, because I'll tell you, Jeff Bezos is fascinating to me in terms of how you take a bookstore and make it Amazon. But I really think that tying to my heart passion, I would say Bill and Melinda Gates. And I think that it really has been their global reach with their healthcare philanthropy and foundation and what they do across the world. Because even though, so some people say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you left healthcare. So I did leave healthcare, but I also tell people that I'm community nursing. But in everything that I have found that I am doing and working with children and families always brings me back to healthcare and health equity. And so I just think that Bill and Melinda Gates, although he's just a genius in terms of the impact of technology on the world. So this guy, think about it. So this guy, the impact that the world has seen because of the decisions he made, right? In terms of making this pivot and changing how the world uses technology, what is now for everything, really starts with him. And he's one man, you know what I mean? So if I had the opportunity to ever sit in front of someone of that caliber, I think it would be he and his wife, because every great man has had or has a great lady. And I
Mhm.
think she really drives their foundation. But I'm most interested in how he really walked through the innovation of how he developed the strategies that needed to be put in place to get us where we are today in terms of Microsoft, and in those opening years, what were his marketing goals, and then how he aligned those strategies, I think would really be my question. But he has really been able to use that business to impact healthcare, health equity, global health across the world. And that's what's most I think, intriguing to me and aligns with like my personal goals as well.
So, what is your favorite activity or program at the Kiddie Academy?
So when I think of program, I think of like our age groups. My favorite program is school age, and I love science, STEM, messy art, anything that I can do where someone might have said, this should look like X, but I'm the person that says, well, yeah, it could look like that, but why does it have to look that way? If we make one tweak or one change or one add of color or splash. So those are the things that I enjoy most doing with kids. And why is because I can see and glean their creativity. And so you can take the student that may be a quiet kid that doesn't talk very much, but they're highly creative, or you can see how their brain works when we do project work. And so we're working a little bit on it throughout the week or the month, and it culminates, and it just really comes to life in terms of what angle students are taking. And so that helps me in terms of how I approach kids and finding something that we have in common that's fun. And so I'm the person that is typically coming in, and the teacher's Carol's here, my room, but hey, I love it. School age is my group, and I love a lot of project work with them and just really aligning that to our Creative Explorers curriculum. I think we have the best school age curriculum, hands down, in the industry. And a lot of it is because it's project based, it's very individualized, it's very inclusive of kids, and it really just allows me to see their growth and development. And I just have a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite children's book or a story that you like to share with the kids?
Anything Pete the Cat. Anything.
Pete the cat, huh?
Oh my
Pizza
God.
Cat?
Pete the Cat.
Pete the Cat. Okay.
Yes. And yeah, anything Pete the Cat. So we've had Storytime Live, and my preference is that because they assign you someone, I can ask for Pete the Cat, but this year they didn't send Pete the Cat out. So I went with Curious George. I like him too, but Pete the Cat is my guy.
I like Curious George.
Yeah. Pete the Cat.
I always like Clifford the Big Red Dog too.
So Clifford the Big Red Dog will be at our Pickerington Academy September the 6th, next Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Clifford is cool too, but Pete the Cat, I'm telling you, you can have the most fun with, I know, I'm sorry, but you can have the most
I'm
fun
going to have to
with
Google that.
Pete the Cat, anything Pete the Cat.
And never heard of Pete the Cat until now.
There, I'm going to Google it.
You should, but there's this song, it's like, I wear my red shoes, I wear my red shoes, oh no! So yeah, I'm a Pete the Cat girl.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Did you love to read books as a child?
I did. So this is going to date me, especially if you grew up in Central Ohio. But do you remember Highlights for Kids?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And your parents could subscribe and get your subscription going for the year. I used to look forward to my highlights coming in the mail. But I think as a little kid and girl, I was like a Dr. Seuss kind of girl.
Yeah.
Eggs and ham kind of things. Yeah, I was a Dr. Seuss kid. But as I was getting older, I also really enjoyed reading like the Highlights for Kids magazine that came.
I send those to my grandkids. It's still around.
It is. I don't get them. I didn't get them for my granddaughter or my grandson, but probably should. But I enjoyed them as a child. That was very, I don't know. It's been refreshing.
That's one reason I looked forward going to the dentist.
Oh, no kidding.
Because the highlights were there. That is hilarious.
Oh, they were always there. That's right.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's fun.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting their own childcare business?
I think first and foremost, at the heart of the decision has to be to keep kids and families at the heart of every decision that you make as you're planning to open your business. It's a tough business. There were a lot of things that I did not consider when I opened, but I would say the number one piece of advice is that when you face tough decisions in your business, I do this in my own meetings. I do it one-on-one. Everyone knows when I draw the stick person and I put the circle around them, that means we got to refocus. And so the child has to be at the center of every decision. And now tell me if that changes your answer. And so you would be surprised at how that
Mm.
helps folks pivot, just the little stick person. So it's a joke that they're going to buy me a shirt with the stick person in a circle. But I said, don't do it your last day. But no, really, that is
That's reserved for special occasions.
that is the key. And then I think I would say after that piece, if I got a number 1, 2, and 3, I would say location. It is
Oh, yeah.
very important that you choose the right location for your school or academy.
Mhm.
And I'll give you an example why I say that. Right now, we've got 6 locations. We opened downtown Columbus. We had a soft opening, so we received kids January 20th. February 20th, we had our grand opening, and on March 20th, COVID hit and the governor shut down pretty much childcare, the city, all those things, primarily childcare. So we have struggled at that location, but no one would have been able to know. And we've used some AI to get this information and data. But over the course of the last year, we can't get past 43% of workers that previously worked physically coming to downtown have returned back to downtown. That's
Yeah.
the number. That was the number as recent as 30 days ago. So
Yeah.
we placed downtown in downtown Columbus to meet the needs of the downtown worker, thinking and identifying that yes, folks may come from as far as Powell, Polaris Lewis Center, Pickerington, Lancaster, wherever, but bring their child to work with them to have them closer to home because they made this extended drive to work each day. And those folks, for the most part, are back at home or they're doing, and that 43% includes hybrid work. So they may not put their kid downtown because 2 days they're downtown, but 3 days they're close to home. So that has changed. I think the location that was at one particular point, the perfect location, has been a struggle in terms of is this the right market? I think right now. And then as a third piece, I would just say, and this really has been, it's not in any order because I think outside of focusing on the child has been my next in line, but would be human capital. My advice would be for people to invest in their teams, invest in their people, and that investment may be monetary, but that time that you spend in front of your team, your staff, is invaluable. So you have to make sure that's a focus as well. And then lastly, I said 3, but lastly would be I use the term bankable all the time. It's probably not really a word, but get your finances in shape. Like you cannot present to a lender if the look back is 2 years. If we look back 2 years and financially you are irresponsible. So I think ensuring that they can look at your spending practices and assess a level of responsibility, as well as making sure that you have enough working capital to carry the business through tough times. And so, that part is key in being able to truly articulate and assess what the return, the timeline to the return on investment is, and in demonstrating that you've got the cash to carry to get there.
I've got a question that came up in my head just now. Do you have the Title 20 program in your facilities?
Some academies have, they call it publicly funded childcare now. Most people in
Okay.
the community do recognize it as Title 20. And we have publicly funded childcare at 4 of our 6 schools.
Okay.
But there also is this thought to make sure that we diversify our revenue streams. So I don't think that we will ever have publicly funded childcare at all 6 schools. And that's just because the program is evolving and has evolved over the years. But it's not fiscally sustainable to have a 100% publicly funded childcare center. The rates for reimbursement would not allow someone to even to operate in the black.
Yeah.
And so it makes it very difficult. And when you have a publicly funded childcare program, you have to, it's no secret that centers that have large publicly funded childcare roles and loads have to layer funding and programming to work to make the program financially viable. And that could be probably a whole podcast on the impact
Oh,
of publicly funded childcare,
for
equity,
sure.
financial viability. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
I just qualified for it when I was a young single mom and my daughter was at the daycare, and they helped me with all the paperwork and everything. So
So, publicly funded
helped me.
childcare in Ohio, and so let me say this, in some states, and some states are better than others, right? We have a governor in Ohio that I think really believes in kids, and I believe that he's made the investments in childcare that have allowed the publicly funded childcare system to improve. I myself used Title 20, that's what it was called back then, at Ohio State's Child Care Center. Would not have been able to afford childcare
Hmm.
if it wasn't if I didn't have the program. But I will also tell you that it's very rewarding to administer and manage a program that also I know made a difference in terms of whether or not I was able to finish school. Because I
Hmm.
primarily used the program to use their evening program at Ohio State because they were open until midnight actually at the time. And so it allowed me to study, go do groups, finish clinical, those kinds of things. We are pleased, and we do have a large population at one of our schools, but it's a tough program to manage. It's a lot of
I
paperwork.
bet. Yeah.
We are happy to serve the community and be able to utilize that program to help serve our families. But I also do work with just decision makers to improve the program so that we can serve more kids, but that as providers, that we're also able to ensure that there are financially viable programs for kids to come to, which is why we are seeing programs close. We're also seeing programs open, but we're seeing some programs close just because COVID made it tough to bounce back.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a key tactic or strategy you could have implemented sooner to grow faster?
So there was an opportunity that I wasn't aware of when I started, and it's going to sound like, what? How did you not know? But there, we had the ability probably to become a multi-unit franchisee in 2010, and I was laser focused on 6411 East Main Street, Reynoldsburg. I needed to get it up. I needed to get it operating. I needed to make sure that we could fulfill our commitments to the one lender that said yes to us. And so I wasn't thinking about anything else. Fast forward, we did not open our second academy until 2016. In hindsight, if I were to do that again, I believe that I would have signed a multi unit agreement back in 2010, which would have caused me to sit down and plan that next academy and our growth strategy a bit sooner. And so, not either not knowing or not looking for the next one caused that to happen in a delayed fashion, meaning from 2010 to 2016 to open our second academy. But we then, that was 2016, then we opened thereafter. We pretty much opened an academy almost like every other year to now have six. I think it's important along the way to really assess what year 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10 look like as an owner, especially in this space, and building that solid growth plan in terms of how you get to next. So I think multi-unit ownership would have been, I think would be what I would do different along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would be scary to do though for getting started.
Here's the thing though, all of this is scary.
True.
It is. And so even at my age, so you say, so I just turned 53, right? So you say, I'm going to start a business. And you go to a lender and you say, this is all I have, right? And you open this business with a hope, a prayer, and a plan that all of this has to work. And so I tell people jokingly, I did not have a choice when I started Kiddie Academy. It literally had to be profitable because all I had, because I started the academy and I was still working. So I worked 12-hour shifts 3 days a week. I was the love of my department because I wanted Saturdays and Sundays. I worked 12s on Saturdays and Sundays and one weekday. So they hardly ever had to work the weekend, right? So
Mhm.
what turned into every other for them was pretty much like every sixth weekend because I was working every weekend. But we literally didn't have a lot to fall back on. Yes, I could have gone back to work and worked full time because I soon quit probably thereafter within 12 months. But I didn't have a choice as to whether or not we figured out how to make the business work. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs are in that space when they start because you've given everything you have to make sure you can get going. And so for us, we didn't have the option of failure or we're just going to close the doors. We had to literally figure it out. And Janis, you mentioned publicly funded childcare. And I didn't know the business side of publicly funded childcare. I just knew that when I was coming up, Title 20 was how I made sure I got to work into school. And I wanted to provide that in Reynoldsburg. But the program literally 3 weeks after we opened shut down. They didn't push any payments out to providers for weeks. So we had to go back to our lender and get a line of credit. And I had to work this calculation to change what our cash to carry looked like because the revenue wasn't going to be coming in, but the expenses were going to be mounting. And so that was a really hard time. But again, had the best lender in the world that sat down, worked through that, and went back to the board and explained what was going on at the state level, what the plan would be, and how they could help us get through the hurdle. Work with our franchise in terms of creating really an agreement that would allow us to pay our royalties on the back end once the state would pay. We had everyone that was on board in terms of supporting us through that. But that was a really tough time in terms of those first 6 months because we were in a community where free and reduced lunch percentages were increasing significantly year over year when we first started. And we were also seeing that in our need for publicly funded childcare with families. And so we met the need, we got the support that was needed, and we were able to continue to move forward and grow. But we always had to have this forward thinking strategy in terms of how we plan for next. But everything worked out. But it was definitely a tough time.
Yeah.
All right. Carol, can you share any upcoming plans or projects for Kiddie Academy for yourself personally? Any expansion plans in the future?
That's like the secret side.
Anything you can share at this moment?
It's really funny. I was telling you, I'm always very reflective. And at this particular time, we probably will not open any additional Kiddie Academy locations. And most people cringe when I say this. They're like, what in the world? So we had the rights to New Albany. And so with Intel coming, everyone's, what? Why wouldn't you go into New Albany? And so the climate is tough right now, and the cost of construction and the cost of real estate right now has really changed what that pro forma looks like. And so we just made a really informed decision that we would not be the franchisees. It wouldn't be ideal for us to be the franchisees to open in that location. A Kiddie Academy will go in New Albany. We just will not be the owners. My pivot, however, is back to really what is, I think, my first love, but still also includes kids. But my daughter will soon graduate in the late spring with her doctorate in audiology. And so, on the business development side of that, I am going to help her, along with a consultant, get her practice off the ground that will include lifespan, so will include pediatrics. But I think her business plan has a twist that really meets the needs of families in Franklin, Delaware, and really Fairfield County. And so I think that is my next and my last true venture, but that will be my pivot back to healthcare, but still serving kids and families. So I guess it's a stay tuned, but it will be in the hearing healthcare and kind of rehabilitation health space, and will also align with health equity for our seniors and for our pediatric population.
I love that. So let's switch gears now and go into the lightning round. We're going to ask you quick questions and you give the first answer that comes to your mind, okay?
Go.
You ready?
I think.
Okay. What is a book that you've most given as a gift or the book that has had the biggest impact on you?
Gifted Hands, Ben Carson.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Okay.
What is an unusual habit or something quirky that you enjoy?
Singing in the shower.
I
You gave
love
us
it.
a little preview with Pete the Cat.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your proudest accomplishment in your childcare career?
I think I already shared that earlier. Is really being able, honestly, it's just being able to give back to my community. I've given backpacks to over 10,000 kids and fed thousands of families. I think it's just the ability to use my, I don't want to call it a platform, but really what I do each and every day to just serve others and to just stay in that space of servant leadership. So that's my proudest accomplishment, and probably the thing that my husband would probably throw the cane at and pull me back off the stage on is, he's Carol, I cannot take care of all of Reynoldsburg. I can't. So I think it's just giving to others.
Okay.
What purchase of $100 or less has made the biggest difference in your life?
$100 or less, a calculator.
Okay.
Oh.
And it's a joke. I have one of my leaders who, she said, every time I talk to you, but she also has a role that causes me to do it. I just see you. And it's funny that this is like right here, but I'm like, it causes me to, but I was just trying to keep things in line, and we cannot do the things that we do and that we do for others if we are not in budget. And everything comes back to the budget for me. But my calculator is my friend. I keep it with me wherever I go. I always have a calculator.
And it's not the one on your phone, it's your own little calculator.
No, I am always rocking with the calculator.
There you
Oh,
go.
look, she's got it right at hand.
So, what is your current passion project?
My passion project is what I just mentioned with regards to my daughter. My sole goal right now is to see her dreams come true. My daughter she's the kid for me that I had to remind everybody that it was okay to raise the bar. And so she's hearing impaired. And so she's attended an Ivy League school. I think the kid has done everything that she has set out to do. I just remember having to walk in spaces and say, that's not the expectation. And I think being able to help her own a business as a citizen in Ohio with a disability, I'm in a fairly significant hearing impairment, but to take her hearing impairment and to use that space to serve others is probably my heart's passion. I told her I would be her first donor for her foundation and would help her run her first gala and everything. That's the project that if once that's done, you could probably sit me beside a beach and I would be okay.
Nice.
What is one skill you would like to master?
Despite, and this is just being honest, despite everything that I have going on, I am not the most organized person. So I would like to be more organized. There are some people that can look at something and the organization just clicks. I'm not that girl. I'm the visionary that will layer on 15 different things and then go, oh, shoot, wait a minute. Let's put this in order. So I want to be that organized person. I've never been that person to go in an interview. They ask you like your number one skill, and everyone always goes, "Oh, I'm organized and great communicator." I've never told anybody that. Never, ever. Now I look for organized people because that is the only way that I have been able to make progress. Is that I try to support my weak areas with folks that is their strength. But yeah, if I could be organized, I would be sitting on top of the world.
So, what was your first job?
You really want to know? So my dad calls my husband and I the Castle King and Queen. We both met at White Castle. My first manager, her name was Darlene, wonderful lady. But my first job was I took simultaneously, I worked at White Castle and at Ohio State in the College of Pharmacy through this NIH grant called the research. It was called the RAP program, Research Apprenticeship Program. Where it's the first time I got to do like research with rats and acetylcholine and little brains and pipettes and all that kind of thing. But so White Castles and Ohio State
Okay.
at the same
Okay.
time.
What's your go-to song to get motivated?
This Girl Is on Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
That's it. I get going on that. And it's my granddaughter's favorite song. And she sings it to the top of the hills, eyes closed and
Cute.
everything. Yes.
Yeah.
This girl is on fire. That's she's like,
Okay.
You're
Oh,
good.
good.
You should sing more places than the shower, that's for sure.
I know. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
All
that's
right.
my granddaughter's song too.
I'll ask. Okay, we've got one last question. Would you rather have every child at Kiddie Academy become a future entrepreneur because of your influence, or have your center become so popular that there's a wait list a mile long to get in?
Every child become an entrepreneur, but I also believe that if every child is an entrepreneur, we will have a wait list because they will have the support and following of their family and their network such that everyone will understand and know the impact of Kiddie Academy. Yeah, but if all of my kids, I want to see all my kids thriving. Absolutely.
Good
That's
answer.
awesome.
Yeah.
Carol, thank you so much for joining us on Cosmos and
Thank
Commerce.
you.
This has been so great.
Thanks. This was fun.
I'm sure,
Lots of fun.
yes, I'm sure our listeners have gained a lot of valuable insights, nuggets. Please let everyone know where they can find you at Kiddie Academy.
So www.kiddieacademy.com / either Hilliard, downtown Columbus, Kip Columbus, Reynoldsburg, or Pickerington, as well as my email address is director@ka of Reynoldsburg.com. Kiddie Academy of Reynoldsburg, where community begins.
I love that. I love it so much. I've really enjoyed this and I've learned a lot.
Awesome.
So, a huge thank you to all of our listeners for joining us. We hope you've gained some valuable wisdom and are inspired to create your own success.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay updated on our latest episodes. And if you're hungry for more, find us at cosmosandcommerce.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep succeeding. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Carol, so much.
Thank